Hi, my name is Terry. I go by the name Mindful Recycle on my YouTube channel and in my eBay store. It is after the first of the year. I hope everybody had a good holiday. I know it's not an easy time for everybody. I am going to do a what sold video today on things that sold starting around the 20th or the 21st, where people knew that they definitely weren't going to get them for Christmas, but they were continuing to shop. So if you think things slow down for January, they don't necessarily. I have had some really big sales since about 2 days after Christmas. Things started just really picking up. And so I am going to show you items that have sold a couple days after Christmas up until today. So I will just be showing you items that sold for $30 or more, but there will be a couple items that I thought were cool that maybe sold for a little bit less than $30. I love to pick up electronics, especially small little tape recorders. Sony Walkmans are probably my favorite, but don't pass up on other brands. This is a Panasonic. I believe this one is probably from the 80s. It is a cassette player, AM, FM, not sure what else it does, but I saw this and immediately wanted to pick it up. I could just kind of tell by the weight of it, which sounds kind of odd, but I know some of the flimsier ones just don't hold any value. So this is pretty heavy duty. I bought it at an estate sale a couple of months ago and did not get it listed right away. So it's probably only been listed for about a month. I paid $10 for it and I sold it for $147. And buyers always pay for shipping. I do not do free shipping. Here is a backpack. My husband actually gave this to me. It's a Targus brand. If you see that brand, definitely look up the comps on them. Most Targus do really well. I think my husband purchased this at Goodwill. He usually doesn't get backpacks brand new unless it's something he really, really wants. I think he said he paid about $35 for it, and I just sold it for $79. I picked these up at Goodwill just about 4 or 5 days ago, and they are the LeapFrog. They are called Little Touch, and they come with, I think there were 12 little cartridges and the books to go with them. I paid a little bit high for them at Goodwill. I paid $18 for all of them because I looked at the comps and they weren't that great, but I just couldn't leave them behind. And I had a feeling that they'd just be super easy to list, which they were, and that they would sell really fast, which they did, and they sold for $45. I purchased, about a month ago, a whole bunch of train stuff. And this is one of them. I believe all the this is a controller. It's in great shape. The other ones that I saw, the other comps, were really rusty and really bad shape. And this one looks like it's almost brand new. And so I raised the price a little bit on mine. And I've only had it listed for just a couple weeks. And I paid $12 for it. And I sold it for $47. This Canon I bought at an estate sale probably about a month and a half ago or so, and got it listed a few weeks ago, and I paid $10 for it, and it sold for $100. This is a little bit vintage. It says on the side that it is from Spain. It says made in Spain, and it is heavy duty metal, has some carved wood wheels. Definitely looks like it's handmade, the wood part on it. But I have sold quite a few Canons. I have found that they are definitely valuable, so check them out. And sometimes I can't even find a comp on them, and I still list them not knowing a whole lot of information on them, and they still sell. So here is a Hallmark ornament that sold on January 3rd, so people are still buying Christmas stuff. And I was very late getting this listed. I didn't get it listed until probably about a week before Christmas. And I had no way of testing it because it has a special cord that is interactive with some other ornaments in probably the same series. And it's interactive with the lights and the sound. So I'm sure once it's set up, it's pretty cool, but I paid $3 for it and I sold it for $47. I went to an estate sale about a month and a half ago, and she was selling all of these Egyptian figures. They were really expensive. They were between, I think she had them like between $90 and $150 each. I tried looking them up. I couldn't find the exact one. And then I started seeing some sold comps from like Walmart that looked similar. Obviously they were not the same. These are called AGI Artisan, and I still wasn't able to find very many comps on them. And I think I did finally find a comp or two, and it looked like they were only selling for about $75, and she was asking such a high price. So I made her an offer to buy them all. There were 10 of them. I wanted to buy them all for $25 each, and showed her a couple of the comps that I was seeing and that they weren't really worth that much from what I could see. So she looked at the comps with me and she said, how about $30 a piece? So I purchased them all and got home and started listing them. I listed about 5 of them on the first night, and I listed them too low. I only had them listed for around $89 or $99. And one of them I even listed for $49. Yikes. Because I started doubting that they weren't worth that much. When I woke up in the morning, somebody bought all of the 5. So I was a little bit more careful to not list them as low for the other 5. And so I listed them for between $189 and $250. And so all of them were sold except for one, which had a little chip in the arm. So I haven't listed that one yet, but this is the last perfect one to sell. So this is what they looked like. And I believe they may have used, I don't know what kind of paint that was, or I wanted to say that it was some kind of gold. I don't know what kind of paint it is. But anyway, these were them, and the brand is AGI, and it was an excellent profit. Even though I sold the first 5 pretty cheap, I still made a lot of money on these. And I also have this one, and this one does have a little chip in the arm, and his little stick here, the little tip of it is broken. So I don't know, I may try to list this for $50 to $75 with damage to it. So if you happen to see these, get them. They sold quickly. My next item is this vintage piece of electronic equipment that I had bought from a friend of mine that just had too many electronics that he was not wanting to list. And I purchased 4 of these from him for $25 each. And I sold 3 of them pretty quickly, probably within 6 months. And then this one I didn't have listed, and it's been sitting in my inventory for well over a year. And I decided to list it a couple weeks ago for $225, and it sold very quickly. So now I get this heavy thing out of here. I'm not sure what it's for exactly. I think it's for testing, doing some kind of electronic testing, but I don't know for sure. This is a Halloween ornament that I had purchased quite a while ago, and this could be the last one that I had because I had purchased probably about 8 of them. I paid $3 for it and I sold it for $45. I went to a garage sale and they had all these little figures. Well, they had a ton of different kinds of figures, but I was looking at these cat figures because I know purchasing and selling cat items could be a pretty big profit. These, however, were not super big profit, and I knew that because I did some comps, but since they had their box and I figured they'd be really easy to photograph and list, I purchased them, and they have been selling really well. So I'll show you what they look like. So I can't remember how many I purchased, maybe around 20 of them, and they've been selling pretty steadily. So this is what they look like. Very cute. And I paid, so I sold 2 of them. And they both have their boxes. The big one sold for $30 and the smaller one sold for $25. And I did an average price on all of them and I bought them for $4 each. I don't think they make this anymore. It's an old soap. And I was at a sale. It was the last day. I found in their basement, they had so many cleaning products. And I bought about 6 or 8 of these. They were kind of all different years, but none of them had been used and they were in decent shape. Unfortunately, a couple of them, the labels got ruined because one of them popped open in my bag and it kind of spilled on the label. But I will try selling those as well. These could be used for movie props. I did not put that in my listing because I kind of ran out of room. This one is from 1992, but I do have some from the 80s, like 2 or 3 of them from the 80s that are also the Sunlight soap. So I paid 25 cents for this and I sold it for $30. This sold December 31st. It is a Department 56 ornament. They're really pretty. They are hand painted and I saw somebody else's listing saying that they were made of resin. I did not put what they were made of in mine because I just didn't know, but they sure look like they're made of wood to me. But they could be resin. So like I said, I just didn't put, you know, anything in that specification. But I paid $6 for it and I actually got this and another one. The other one sold in a couple days when I listed it. And his hand had a couple of the fingers were broken off and it still sold. And I debated whether or not I'd listing this because I didn't have the right box. It was in a different box, but I just covered that and I put it in the listing that it's the right box for this series, but not the right box for the particular ornament. And again, this one sold overnight. So I paid $6 for it and it sold for $45. I actually picked both of these ornaments up at the same estate sale where I got all of the Egyptian figures. So this is a vintage waffle iron. The brand is All-Clad. I heard other resellers to keep it saying to keep an eye out for this. I found it at Goodwill for $4.99 and I sold it for $55. I have had it listed probably for about 6 months or so. It's in really good condition. I cleaned it up a little bit, but not too much. It was pretty clean already. So keep your eye out for All-Clad. They also make pots and pans. So if you saw my video about all the Department 56 I picked up and it has been selling quite nice. I do still have some pieces left, as you could probably see. In the background right here, there is a Department 56 that has not sold. I'm okay with that. I know they will eventually sell because they are such a sought after item. But I did sell this one after Christmas on December 29th. I paid $6 for it and I sold it for $59. So those are all the things that I have in my possession that I sold in the last couple weeks. I am going to not show you all of the other things because there were so many. So I will just show you a few more of my favorite items. So about a month ago, I was at a estate sale. It was the same sale that I had purchased the train stuff that I was showing you. It was this controller. I had purchased this and a whole bunch of other vintage train stuff there. But they had this old computer there. It's an Osborne. It's from the 80s. And she actually had it set up so if you wanted to plug it in to see if it worked, you could. And I plugged it in and it worked. It was, she had it for sale for $200. And the comps on it were not that high. But I figured I was going to go back the next day, which was going to be half off day. And hopefully this computer was still going to be there. So I did end up getting it. I paid $100 for it, listed it on an auction for 7 days, and it sold for $350. This Partylite Christmas tree was super cool. I picked it up probably close to about a year ago for $6 and it sold for $75. I sold another Xbox 360 game and figure. If you had seen my video probably about 6 or 7 videos ago, I picked up a whole bunch of Xbox 360 games, and they weren't just the games, they were all in a box, and they all had a special figure with it or a controller, or they were just really cool. I picked them up very inexpensively from a garage sale, and I just sold another one. So this one that I just sold is a Gears of War, and I have sold other Gears of War that they had. I have $8 into it, and I sold it for $97. I picked up this computer game. It is, gosh, probably from the 90s. Same sale as the Egyptian figures. I paid $8 for it, and I sold it for $87. Here was one of my favorite things that I picked up and sold. I picked it up about 3 months ago from an estate sale. I paid $65. It was one of the things I was after when I went to the sale. I think I was second in line. And so I rushed out to the garage where it was supposed to be, and I couldn't find it. And I just figured somebody had picked it up before me, and looked around a little bit more and just thought, no, they couldn't have gotten it because I was second in line. So I looked better and I found it. So it's a Nintendo teaching piano. It's called Miracle. Let's see, it's called Miracle Piano Teaching System. I paid $65 for it, and I sold it for $400 pretty quickly. This new in-box Samsung DVD player, I went to an estate sale very late in the day, and it had been ransacked and really gone through. And I saw this box underneath a used DVD player and pulled it out. Sure enough, it had never been open, and they were asking $15 for it, and I sold it for $85. This Krylon paint is definitely something to be on the lookout for. This isn't the super, super old one, but this is definitely vintage, and I'm not sure why people look for these, but they do. So this is a second one that I have sold very quickly. I have $1 into this one, and it sold for $40. Here is a Jim Shore item that I picked up about a month ago and got it listed really quickly to try to hopefully have somebody who wanted it for Christmas to purchase it, and they did. I paid $16 for it, and I sold it for $132.50. I bought this Lemax carnival ride. It is a bumper car carnival ride. I paid $5 for it during the summer, and I sold it for $75. I bought this about 1.5 years ago from Goodwill, and I knew I was buying it as is, which means you cannot return it. I paid $100 for it because when I looked up the comps, I could have sold it between $300 and $400 if it was working. And I knew that if it wasn't working, that I could at least make my money back, but I was hoping that it was working. So I got it home. I couldn't test it there because it did not have a adapter to it. So I ordered an adapter. It wasn't very expensive. So when I plugged it in, there's a big battery inside this case, and for some reason it just wasn't charging. But I was able to get a reading on it, and so it showed that the case was working just fine. You just needed to get a new battery. So this thing weighs close to 50 pounds. It's very small. It's only like a 12 by 12, but it's heavy. It's been in my living room for 1.5 years. And I got so tired of looking at it, I finally just decided I'm just gonna list it. Definitely disclose that it's not charging, and it's very expensive to ship because it's heavy. So I did put in the description that if the battery was something that they didn't want, the battery inside, that I would take it out and their, shipping would be adjusted significantly. And sure enough, somebody bought it very quickly. I only got $130 for it. So at least I got my money back and made a little tiny profit on it. Actually, after I bought the adapter, I probably didn't make anything off of it, but at least I got my money back, and it's out of my living room. And it's already been shipped and everything, so I'm sure it just worked out fine for them. Okay, so this set of ornaments are Kirkland brand from Costco. And I think they're from the 90s. I paid $12 for them. I got them at the same sale that I was second in line and I got the Nintendo piano from. And they sold for $100. The last two items that I'm going to show you are two trains. They are identical. And I did buy this at that sale that I told you I was going to go back the second day and pick up all the train stuff and that computer. So I did end up getting all of the train stuff. I got in there before anybody else. And honestly, nobody else wanted the train stuff. This sale had a lot of collectible glass, and I think that's what people were after. They weren't after the trains. So I was able to get all these trains. So these two trains were $150 each on the first day. So I paid $75 each for them, and I listed them each for $295 or a buy it now at $383.50. So one of them sold in about 2 days at a buy it now for the $383.50. And the other one ran its course of the auction for the 7 days. And I had one bidder on it and they did pay the $295. So both of these ended up being a really good purchase. So if you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you didn't, you could hit the thumbs down. Subscribe, that really helps out my channel, and I will see you on the next one.